Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to this week. It's been a while. I hope that you kept well. Despite the demands of last week, I know you spent a lot of time uh, just thinking through the family and the spiritual pillar. And definitely something has shifted. And it will keep shifting, interestingly. It's not that once it shifts, that is the end of it. It will keep shifting. Enjoy the shift. Sometimes enjoying is not necessarily enjoying, but there you have it. You just have to deal with it. That's life. We say that life is not a puzzle to be completed, neither is it a mystery to be unraveled. It's just to be lived. And you begin to appreciate and see sometimes why things are the way they are. And probably it will not be the end of it. You will keep going so deep and deep and deep and deep. And those the spheres may take you to very uncomfortable places. You feel that you kind of um, in charge of the narrative. But also a time might come when you'll also not be in charge. You'll also be the one being asked very difficult questions. So the good thing is that you've opened the window to ask questions and so also be prepared to be asked such kind of questions. That aside, welcome to this week. Now, this week we're going to make it a little bit harder, especially for a young person. Now, the things that you used to, the things that look very normal, they're going to be very, very abnormal. The 7 principles we've talked about, we're going to go practically deep, practically deep. You know, you've been doing intentional reflections, examining patterns as they are in family, getting very vulnerable around family members, and also speaking about your own fears to someone of a different religious orientation. Very interesting just to hear how they think and what perhaps you think and you thought that your faith is more superior to other people's faith. Maybe or maybe not. But it's very interesting. I'm sure that you had some good kind of a conversation and a big clash between what your family has deposited in you and what you're discovering. So this week you're going to go practically deep as we ask you to do things that are quite uncomfortable. And I wish that you enjoy that time. I wish that you stay with that discomfort. It can be very, very uncomfortable, particularly as we take on the principle of solitude. Oh my God, one of my favorites. And I remember sometimes last year I had to engage in a bit of a solitude moment because since I just can't recall when I had gone into such deep solitude, and so I was alone at home, and so I decided to something I had really thought about for such a long time. When could I just do it for 40 hours, go without electricity and not accessing the devices and stay indoors? I must admit that was big. I did a walk. I don't know how long the walk took because then I didn't have access to my devices, and so I can't tell how long I walked and for how long I walked because I had left my smartwatch. I left my phone behind, and when I came back, of course, I had switched off everything. And at that point in time, I was not switching off stuff after I've removed. This is kind of, power could disappear. What happens? And I had to take the bold step to let the main door open because I kept asking myself if something was to happen, who would be the first person to come in? What will they find? So I had many questions because even as I kept walking on the road, I was asking if something was to happen to me, how will I be identified? How long will it take for people to know where I am? So there were so many questions that were going through my mind. And so, of course, I had set the alarm. That was a very, uh, so 2 long nights, very, very long, extremely long. You're relying on, you see outside and you see light. I mean, you can see a bit of light outside. And when the alarm rang and went and found interestingly, the whole kitchen was covered with water. Definitely, the fridge had everything in it had melted. The food had got bad. And I looked at my phone and I think I found like only 4 missed calls. And 2 are from my daughter. So yeah, let me just say that. And when I think of that and decisions that I had to make after that, help me to realize 1 or 2 things about life. So enjoy your solitude as it's defined in this week. It won't go that extreme. No, no, no. It's measured and we're there to help you to guide you in terms of how you do it in a moderated way. Because also solitude on its own can also be quite dangerous. We've also spent time to outline how we build the vulnerability moment around it. And particularly, who is it that you need in your life? Because that's very important. You've grown up around people. Grown up around people. You have parents, you have classmates, you have people you went to school with, you grew up together, you probably attended the same religious gatherings, and you still do up to this moment. In a world of 8 billion people, I'm sure none of you has, I mean, a contact list of less than 300 people. But I ever thought that you could be having 300 plus people, but you are all alone. You are all alone in this sea of multitudes of people. You're all but alone. Maybe it's a feeling, maybe it's a reality, but when you take your phone, you struggle. Who will I reach up to? And yet, when you went to class 1, you had 50 classmates, 60, 70. And you expanded that horizon. People you came with from the same village. There's so many, and you have tens of cousins that are strewn all over. With the same village, probably in the same city, the same town, the same country, or maybe some of them across the globe. But in this moment, post college, you just feel that you're all but alone. When I go through a lot of reports and I find a common thread, I feel that I have so many people around me, but I just don't feel that people know who truly I am. That question we ask, question C2, is there something that has happened that you feel so uncomfortable to talk about? And remember, week 1, when we started talking about the 3 lives: public, private, and the secret life. There's something that we have deep within us, we struggle with, and we feel that somebody should understand who I am. It really pains us, it weighs heavy on you. That thing, over time, doesn't become less. Even when you try to push it aside in the subconscious, forget. When it comes back when it's very heavy. It needs somebody to receive it, and it lands. It needs to be accepted and is allowed to dissolve. And life requires such. Big decisions require somebody to receive and facilitate them to dissolve. And as you've started looking at the difficult conversation around family, is going to even make it bigger. The things you've come across, you need somebody to listen them, to validate them, to invalidate them, to challenge them. But who therefore becomes this person? I wish to submit to you that the greatest of the people you see are determined by the people around them. So when we talk about social connections, and I'm sure you've come across the cliche, your network is your net worth. It's so powerful. So I'd like you to spend this week, the heavy week this week, to unpack what we mean by your network is your net worth. And why the feeling that because you proxy to certain people, it means they have access or to understanding. Just because you went with people to the same school, just because you grew up with people in the same locality, just because you worshipped with people doesn't qualify them to be your friends. So what does it therefore mean? One of the things that we're going to ask you to do this week is to confront the reality of whether you need friends in life. And I'm sure you've read so much of this, and when I go through reports and I see, and of course even general conversations, people talk of if you're on your own. What does it typically mean to be on your own? Is it figurative or is it literal that you are on your own? We want you to take time and discover for yourself as you reflect through your life. The best gift that has been presented to you is your community. Physical community, that village where you grew up. It has a lot of influence on your life, consciously and unconsciously. So this week we want you to get to the unconscious state of what your village, your community has deposited in you, and have an opportunity to reflect on the effects of what your community has deposited in you, so that then you can make very, very conscious decisions around the social connections that you're going to build. So then they are able to facilitate you to build a life of legacy. You never do much unless you go back to the old cliche. You can never know where you're going to if you don't know where you're coming from. So if you can't know what family has deposited in you in the context of where you grew up, you can't do much. You struggle with your career, you struggle with family, you struggle with finances, you struggle with your faith, and your value system will always be shifting. That is how much a community is the first place for you to build social connection starts. Now, you have to be very careful. Community and social connections are not synonymous. They're not. The community offers the very first point of building social connections. It doesn't mean that those connections will prevail, let alone stand for 5, 6, 7 years, 10 years. As you get exposed to different communities, different contexts, and many more people, you shift how you look at yourself and other people as well. This is what we want you to take audit and take stock of what that means as you build your life. And ultimately, it helps you to identify why communities are the way they are, and what therefore do you want to do going forward. Enjoy the journey. And as usual, we're there. Karibu.